for help, no one will heed you. Your mind is totally controlled. It has been stuffed into my mold, and you will do as you are told until the rights to you are sold.
Welcome to Liberal Buzz. Today we have some issues that nobody else will talk about. That's why we do this show because it covers subjects that aren't covered in the media, which I recommend you watch. Also watch Free Speech TV, BAVAC.org, and give generously to those entities, please, because they're owned by, you own them, and you have to help us keep the lights on, and so we can tell the truth without any corporate interests. So with that said, my guest today is Brent Turner. He may be calling. If not, I'm prepared to give statements from him. Sometimes he's forgotten, so it's cool. He's got a lot on his plate. He's trying to get fair and open elections with software owned by the public, rather, because there's been some proprietary software. Microsoft has been blocking open source software, and which means that big tech companies are controlling the vote counts. People, big techs they're poised to take over the government. The tech companies like Microsoft, so watch out. And they're in control of your voting in Microsoft. So, and you know how easy they are to hack. Microsoft is really easy to hack. I had 2 computers hacked at the same time, and Apple got through it, but the PC just, it's probably Deadsville. So what's got to happen is Microsoft is just not that secure, really. It doesn't seem like it to me, and I've got some experience with it. So Brent's trying to get the attention of lawmakers, some of whom are just not trying to hear it. So like Microsoft, private voting vendors obstruct national security solution efforts. So there's that. And yeah, Microsoft is actually, they exacerbate the crisis because Microsoft's irresponsible. This is from Brent Turner. Here's an interesting article highlighting Microsoft's irresponsible actions surrounding elections and national security. As we have stated with repetition, the current proprietary election system will never be secured to an appropriate level and will always be vulnerable to both insider-outsider interference. Exacerbating this crisis is the affection of the academic experts and officials by corporate status quo preservationists. So the spin place holding the investigations and conversations is in direct conflict with the best national security efforts. And so I'm quoting him. We have reached out to Microsoft directly and announced our conclusion that their lobbyist political and technology efforts are in direct conflict with national security. It seems like Microsoft is either duped into supporting, helping the Russians hack our system. It's like, are they complicit or are they just stupid? Which is it, Microsoft? Because you guys, it's really really easy to hack Microsoft. You could have all the Norton you want, and they'll still hack it. So there was considered conversation, but unfortunately Microsoft's admitted position is their duty as a corporation is to their shareholders and not the national security interest. So Microsoft's opinion is this duty to shareholders permits them from supporting efforts towards general public license open source election systems. And so I think that's my guest, Brent, calling in. Is this Mr. Brent Turner?
Yes, it is.
Hey. So
hello. Hello, hello.
Hello, hello. I just gave him an intro about Microsoft being an insecure, it's insecure, the code is insecure, even though it's proprietary. It's very hackable, because I just had my Microsoft PC hacked into the other day.
Yes.
Yeah, so I've got you pictured with Nancy Pelosi here.
Oh. That ought to win me some fans.
Yeah, I just won. Yeah, okay. Well, Microsoft private voting vendors obstruct national security solution efforts. I just read that article to the viewers, and
Well, what do you need me for then?
oh no, I was waiting for you to call in.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. That's all you need. All you need to know right there. So I just wanted to call in and check in with you because you've been on top of this story. I don't know, for maybe a couple of years now. We've been
Yes.
talking about it.
Yeah, before this Trump Putin Hiller Russia thing, you know.
Right. When we first started talking about it, I think it was rather abstract for most people. Now it's in the news cycle 24/7.
It is, and now it seems like we're ahead of our time. You're ahead of your time. I appreciate your work on this, and it seems like you're being gaslighted. And what's happening? Why is everything? Is it in a nutshell? Microsoft is interested only in the benefit of their shareholders.
That is apparently the case. We have reached out to Microsoft and asked them to help with the dilemma.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, they're not willing to do that. So alternatively, we asked them if they would at least call off their lobbyists and have their lobbyists stand down. But I don't think they've done that either. So now, in our opinion, they're in direct conflict with the national security.
Yep.
And we need to call in high power to set them back on their heels.
You mean somebody Donald Trump can't fire?
Right. And that's funny that you say that. There's more to be revealed on that one, but that's very funny. Hold that thought.
Okay.
So there's going to be more coming, and I'm going to circle back with you in your show. But I like the fact that you, as a hometown person, that you really were one of the first, if not the first, in the country to hit on this story and understand it, because that's important work that you're doing, and I hope that your viewers appreciate that.
I'm sure they do. But
Good.
Thank you for the vote of confidence.
Well, it's the fact is the fact. You've got it time-stamped that your show was highlighting this issue of vulnerable voting systems. And, of course, as you know, San Francisco is leading, it's positioned to lead, let's say, the state and the country toward proper election systems that utilize open source software. So my conversations with the DOD and the DHS and the DNI and the EAC and every other scary acronym that's out there is that you cannot secure a Microsoft-based proprietary voting system.
You can't.
Try as you might, you can't do it. So if we're going to have secure voting systems by 2020, we need to get all hands on deck and move the country toward appropriately securable open source systems like San Francisco has allocated funds for. Preliminary funds, by the way, for the study. Right now, the RFP is the request for proposals is in a state of flux, and we're hopeful that we get the project moving. I happened to run into Mayor Lee the other night at dinner, and he seemed quite concerned, and I think there's hope that we're going to move the project forward.
Oh, great. Mayor Ed Lee, well, I'm glad to hear that he's on board with some positive things.
Yes, it was an interesting conversation, and of course I'm not shy to say hello, and when I run into people out around town, I make use of that because then they're on my turf rather than me having to try to talk to them at City Hall, where sometimes they're not that easy to approach.
Maybe the rooms are bugged.
But when I run into them around San Francisco, then of course we're at least equals.
That's the way. Well, San Francisco, we're now. Where's other places that are? I was reading there were other states, but not very many. How fast is this going to catch on? Will it catch on fast enough for the 2020 elections?
It could. It could if we really start right now. As you know, it's already in New Hampshire, although the tabulation piece is not in effect in New Hampshire. They do have the voter interface and the disabilities components functional in New Hampshire with the Prime 3 system that was created by one of our board members at the California Association of Voting Officials. And of course, I'm drawing a blank on his name, although he's my buddy. So the doctor, and if you have the Cavo site up, I have to look there because I'm embarrassed because my brain is almost full.
You have at least about 11 or 12 minutes. So here, I'll go there and show the audience.
Okay, I'm going to find it right now, and I'll tell you. I know he's the lead professor at the University of Florida, and of course his name is Dr. Juan Gilbert, and he's a very famous fellow in the world of open source voting because his system was the first to be deployed by a state. And we're hopeful that a system similar to the one in New Hampshire comes forward in San Francisco. Then we get it certified by the state of California, and the rest of the country can pay attention. But right now we're telling all the jurisdictions nationally, do not buy any more bad systems that are being sold by these secret software vendors peddling Microsoft.
So it's up to each county to stop this.
Yes.
County by county.
That's correct. But they listen to the secretaries of state. So if, like, Secretary of State Padilla came out hot and heavy to say, hey, California, this is what we're doing, the counties would listen up. There's a bill right now, AB 668, that is actually doing more damage than it is good because it's getting positioned to fund $450 million toward the bad systems. And we don't want another 10-year supply of the bad systems. We want the good stuff right now, which is open source paper ballot systems.
Yeah, backed up with the paper ballot, because if you just have paper ballots, they end up in the bay. Remember Matt Gonzalez?
Right. A lot of people do sort of a knee-jerk reaction and think, oh, let's just get rid of the technology and hand count paper ballots. But that, number one, is never going to happen. So it's a red herring. Yeah. And number two, even if it were to happen, although it would be better than the Diebold type systems, it would not be as secure as the Deckert design, which is the paper ballot system in conjunction with the open source system. So that's kind of where we're at. In the next few days, I think you're going to be seeing something in a major newspaper from a major person in the world that lays the story out, and that's going to shake the tree so that it won't just be Brent Turner and Denise Dorey saying, let's move toward open source systems. It's going to be the big folks saying, okay, we have a decision to make. Are we going to continue to run elections in secret with the corporations in control, or are we going to move toward publicly owned systems with proper security? And of course, the answer is obvious.
It is, but now we're talking about Microsoft just being able to lobby people. How do we stop them from lobbying? You were saying earlier about a resolution to stop Microsoft from lobbying our politicians and blocking open source in the
yeah, the you can't stop them, but you can appeal to the sensibility, the patriotism, the love of democracy of the politicians at the local levels and the federal levels to stop kowtowing to Microsoft. And the political parties need to understand that the money isn't worth the pain. There's going to be civil unrest unless we get proper vote counts. So let's do that, and then we'll get back to shady business as usual after that sometime.
So do you think the administration that is in place now actually knew about Microsoft's vulnerabilities because Trump was asking the Russians to hack into Hillary's emails?
Yes, I believe that is obvious. That everybody knows this is America's dirty little secret. The public might not be aware of it so much, but the people at the top know about election systems, and this is common knowledge in the political circles that the voting systems are inappropriately insecure, and Obama knew it, and Trump knew it, and Hillary knew it. Everybody knows it. The genie's out of the bottle, so let's bring the solution forward.
So we just have to, as usual with a lot of issues, you have to educate the opposition.
I think we need to do a public education campaign so that the people apply pressure to the politicians, and we need to continue pushing the intelligence committees within Senate and the judiciary and the rest of them to make sure that the political folks are all aware. So it's a group effort. Everybody stands up together and just says no to Microsoft and moves forward with the publicly owned open source systems.
So you do think that Russia could have gotten into our voting systems through because I know how easy it is to hack into Microsoft.
Yes, it's no different than what we're doing with the Department of Defense and NASA and the Air Force. They all use open source, and vote counting is as critical as anything else. It's not rocket science. We can get this done. It's just political will. So in San Francisco, we have the project at the ready, and we have the horsepower to get it done. Now we just need John Arnst to join in with a proper psychology so that we can get this accomplished, get a system certified and by the Secretary of State, and then we'll be good to go for the rest of the country to follow us. Okay.
Well, Mike, now I want to get back to this. The Department of Homeland Security officials from former Secretary Jay Johnson,
yes,
Acting Director of Cyber Division Samuel Lyles, may be adamant that machines were not affected, but the agency has not, in fact, opened up a single voting machine since November to check.
Right. And they never looked at anything. We requested to do a forensic analysis. There has not been one done, so nobody knows what happened 2016, and it's quite likely no one will ever know for sure. All we know is they were inside the systems, and it would be hard to believe that they moderated themselves once inside, so we kind of assume that they meddled with the vote counts.
It's a national security issue.
So again, thanks to you, Denise, for leading on this, because it was a good act of bravery when you started it, airing the information before it became so topical, and that's to be commended. And I love the fact that you're the local and that San Francisco is leading like we should on this issue.
Oh, well, thanks for that. Now, tell me real quick, what about this Colbert Turner 2020? Were you actually invited? That's my last question. Go. You got.
Well,
30 seconds.
I think that it would be an honor, and I think it may be comedy. We don't know, but that's just kind of fun in the meantime. And if I get a chance to explain further on his show, I'm glad to do it, but he does have an interest in this subject of reforming the election systems, and I consider him another hero.
Oh, great. Well, I really appreciate, you're a hero too, Brent, and soon you'll get your just rewards for this, and you'll secure our voting system, which is all the reward you're looking for. Really.
No, that's right. If I happen to not make it to the finish line, make sure I have a plaque somewhere, and that there's a Brent Turner Day, and smoke a big fatty for me.
Okay, will do. Thanks, Brent.
Okay, dear.
Brent Turner, NAVO.
But bye-bye.
Be sure to watch Psychic Frank next Thursday.